Vincent and Sophie, a married couple, own a butcher business in Paris. Sadly, the store is not particularly profitable. The few customers who do visit become weary of waiting as Vincent strangely rubs the meat. A bunch of vegan activists storm into the store one day, splattering paint, smashing objects, and writing graffiti on the wall. After running after them, Vincent successfully tackles an activist to the ground in an attempt to remove his mask, but his companions quickly return to shove Vincent away and save the man. They flee after kicking Vincent in the stomach. Later, the couple tells their friends Stephanie and Mark later in the day that they would soon be going bankrupt since the bank will not provide them a loan to repair the shop. Stephanie first expresses sorrow before boasting about Mark's wealth from his own butcher shop. Mark also offers Vincent a present and boasts about all the money he makes at dinner. It is a gun to keep the store safe. Mark is adamant and even throws a toy into the pool as a protest, even though Vincent does not have a permission and believes he should not take it. On the walk home, Sophie tells Vincent that they should split up because she wants a partner who excites her and their marriage has grown stale. Vincent, however, is not paying attention because he just saw the protester riding a bicycle close by. Vincent decides to approach the man after abruptly stopping the automobile. He unintentionally runs him over and kills him while trying to find him by driving in reverse. Sophie reminds out that Vincent just drank alcohol and that there is a pistol in the trunk. Therefore, he will receive a life sentence. Vincent is appalled and wants to contact the police and claim it was an accident. She recommends that they emulate a well-known serial murderer who dissected his victims and scattered the bits in trash bags over the city, citing a program she recently saw. Shortly after, Vincent places the deceased man on his butcher table and begins chopping him up with his instruments. He chops him into tiny pieces after breaking him up into larger ones. A drop of ear drops during this procedure, and the dog swallows it without hesitation. It enjoys it so much that it barks to get more. As he watches his dog chew it, Vincent tosses the other ear and reflects. Sophie is watching another crime documentary in his bedroom when Vincent finishes. She informs him that because they are now apart, he cannot sleep there. Sleeping on the couch is Vincent's only option. Vincent oversleeps the next morning and hurries to the store, only to find that Sophie has sold the human meat he left on the slicer, mistaking it for ham. The customer returns before he can reprimand her, stating that the meat was the best she has ever tasted and requesting more. She simply wants more of that ham when he attempts to sell her something else. Vincent says he switched providers since Sophie does not grasp the problem, and now she wants to test the new ham. Vincent informs the ladies that it is Iranian pork, and she agrees that it is exquisite. Sophie demands the truth when the customer leaves after purchasing all she desires. After a brief moment of panic when she hears the explanation, she advises Vincent to give it a try rather than discarding it. Sophie continues to speak, suggesting that they may sell the entire body to remove all the evidence, even if he declines. Just then, a new customer shows up. The former woman, with whom he is friends, shared her ham with him, and now he wants some too. As word of the Iranian pork spreads, customers start lining up to order it. For once, the couple makes decent money by continuing to sell the human flesh. The couple becomes anxious when Officer Tamek stops by to purchase Iranian pork as well, but fortunately, he is unable to identify the human parts. Vincent eats the last of the human for dinner in the evening and enjoys the flavor. Vincent believes Sophie's suggestion that they should start murdering people and selling their meat is absurd. Sophie is serious, though, and notes that this may salvage the store. Their daughter Chloe introduces them to her boyfriend Lucas the next day. Despite being vegan, he says he respects those who consume meat and is not an extreme like those who smash the store, which is something he disapproves of. When Vincent and Sophie learn that Chloe has also gone vegan out of respect for her partner, they are initially unconcerned. Because the mushrooms Vincent produced are soaking in the chicken liquid, Lucas would not eat them, and he also does not drink their wine. He says that typical wine is manufactured from crushed grapes that include dead insects, which is why he exclusively drinks vegan wine. He also refuses to accept the cake and cheese that the couple brings out since they contain eggs and milk. As he describes the treatment of animals on farms, he even refers to Sophie as an elderly cow. Vincent agrees to kill people because he is so angry when Chloe and Lucas go. They visit a vegan restaurant and start examining the patrons, hoping to find someone who is stress-free and has a lot of meat. They decide to make the cook their next victim because of his size. Vincent follows the man inside his home after his shift finishes and prepares the knife. But as the man cries, Vincent becomes alarmed and flees. He gets into the car with Sophie and explains that the man had to flee because he had to protect himself. Sophie, on the other hand, provides more ideas she has acquired from watching crime documentaries because she thinks they need stronger strategies and she can tell he is lying. The next day, Sophie and Vincent travel to a different town and stand in front of a grocery shop posing as vegan protesters. They use all the information that Sophie learned from Lucas to dispute with those who disrespect them. Sophie has to say something unacceptable at a vegan man who approaches them to congratulate them and then launches into a tirade against the system before they have a chance to respond. They then strike up a conversation with a friendlier vegan man, and they decide to get together later to speak about activism. The man arrives with two other persons a few moments later. The trio admits they want to destroy a meat processing factory, but Vincent and Sophie are unable to combat all three at once and prepare to go. In spite of Sophie's objections, Vincent has an idea and decides to accompany them. They wear masks during the journey, and one of the campaigners recognizes Vincent. By pretending to be florists, the duo diverts his attention. Sophie is horrified to learn that Mark is in charge of the meat facility when they arrive, so she waits outside and pretends to be on lookout. After joining the three, Vincent enjoys kicking around, igniting a fire, and even urinating on a photograph of Mark. Sophie chastises Vincent for forsaking their friends when they go to a restaurant later. Vincent, however, believes that small businesses are more negatively impacted by large chains like Mark's than by vegans. He orders a steak, but because it is not as good as other people's, he does not feel like eating it. When Vincent declines to murder once again, Sophie starts to make fun of him, calling him a coward and claiming he only knows how to rely on her in times of need. He is so incensed by her remarks that he lifts a fork to strike her, but he controls himself and declares their relationship is ended before walking away. The waiter and Sophie wind up talking, and they become friends since they both enjoy crime films. When they arrive at her house, he offers to drive her there and catches sight of the store. Because the butcher is vegan, the waiter thinks it humorous that he offered him a ride. A ravenous Sophie bites his tongue as he continues to flirt with her and even plants a kiss. She asks him to come in so he can clean up since he is bleeding. Sophie informs Vincent that this may be their next Iranian pig while he is in the restroom, and she makes him envious by going into great detail about the kiss. Sophie is thrilled to see Vincent so agitated as he begins sharpening his knife. But when Vincent realizes that calm cows produce the tastiest meat, he stops. Sophie chooses to prepare the waiter by massaging him on the couch. Vincent begins to reconsider when she urges him to go, but Sophie coerces him into complying by bringing up their survival and threatening to file for divorce. The waiter is nude as Vincent exits the kitchen because he believes the pair is playing a dirty trick on him to get him to join them. Vincent becomes even more enraged by this and begins pounding the man till he dies. When Chloe gets home, Sophie conceals the waiter's clothing beneath the couch while Vincent washes his face with fishbowl water. Chloe is furious that Lucas ended their relationship because he reportedly believed she had been eating meat covertly and that a butcher's kid was born with a passion for meat. The couple becomes quite upset because she wants to spend tonight with her parents and eat the meat from the supermarket for dinner. Since Lucas is a decent man, they advise her to return to him and give him another opportunity. Following Chloe's departure, the pair cleans up the blood in their living room before slicing the body. They sense that their relationship is strengthening once more as they collaborate. They sleep together on the couch after tossing the waiter's bike into the river. After seeing the wrecked store, Stephanie and Mark phone them the next morning to ask for emotional support. At first, Sophie feels awful, but as Stephanie continues to make fun of Vincent's store, she has second thoughts. Officer Tamek shows them the video and says that the same protesters who assaulted Vincent's store were responsible. Tamek discreetly requests additional Iranian pork from Sophie and Vincent while Stephanie and Mark demand payment from the government. The entire corpse is sold in a matter of hours, and a large queue forms outside the store that afternoon to get Iranian pork. After some reluctance, they abduct the vegan restaurant's cook and murder him in the bathtub in the evening after Sophie assures them they will have more tomorrow. The pair continues to murder vegetarians using various methods as the days go on. Vincent loses his hesitation and begins to relish the excitement of the search. They have an increasing number of customers every day, and the queues at the store are quite long. As they work together, the pair develops closer, and killing people becomes so natural to them that they engage in absurd chatter while doing it. They ask a vegan man to join them in thrashing a meat factory one evening. Vincent prepares his knife as the man is selecting a mask, but the man spots him and kicks him before fleeing. Sadly, the pair loses sight of him as they start following him through the jungle. Vincent hears someone moving in the dark, but Sophie believes their adventure is ended. Sophie then dials the man's phone, and the ringtone reveals where he is. In a hurry, the man attempts to escape once more but trips and falls. Upon checking on him, the couple discovers that he has already passed away and that the terror must have caused a heart attack. Stephanie and Mark acknowledge that the steaks created from Heart Attack Guy are delicious, and their envy makes them more reserved than normal the next day when Sophie and Vincent share them with them. Mark is startled to discover a piece of metal in the meat when he takes another mouthful, and Stephanie identifies it as a pacemaker. Vincent takes it right away and explains that it is a microchip that farmers use to monitor their animals. After a fight breaks out, Vincent finally finds the courage to confront their pals and disparage everything about them when they begin making fun of their small store once more. Ignoring their wives' cries, an enraged Mark leaps on Vincent, and they begin fighting in the center of the garden. After throwing Mark into the water, Vincent bites off his ear and chews it mindlessly. Vincent acts as though he was only making a point when Stephanie calls him out, spitting it out as though it were repulsive. Vincent starts imitating leopards' sprinting and concealment strategies to hunt prey more effectively after viewing a video about them. Since then, he has watched additional movies about animals in an attempt to imitate different methods, such as learning how to kill people by strangulation like a snake. The pair gets so thrilled about eating human flesh on certain evenings that they wind up getting filthy. Since this is his favorite place to do yoga, a guy complains about the smoke and the scent of burning bodies at a barbecue meal in the park one day. Pretending to agree to move, the pair kills him instead. In an attempt to find fresh victims, the pair later goes to a vegan gathering. Because he does not want to harm kids, Vincent gives in to temptation from an extremely fat lad. They run across Chloe and Lucas at that point, so they have to act like they have gone vegan and are just selling meat to make ends meet. Lucas remarks on the recent disappearance of vegans and believes that the Butchers Guild or the Union of Farmers are responsible. The activist who ransacked Mark's business overhears him calling the couple butchers and abruptly ejecting them from the gathering. Sophie points out that they are two varieties they have not tasted when she spots a black woman on their way out. The pair pursues her when Vincent chooses to break his not murdering ladies rule. Vincent is slicing the woman that night when his knife breaks. Tamek knocks on the door as he enters the store to get a new knife. Vincent pretends to be working late since the officer finds it interesting that the store's lights are on after hours. Vincent shouts at the dog to get away as it approaches with a hand in its jaws and informs Tamek that he has PTSD as a result of the attack on his store. Tamek brings up the missing vegetarians before departing. Shortly after, Vincent informs Sophie that he believes Tamek has suspicions, which is why he threw away the woman's meat. Sophie refuses to stop murdering because she wants to surpass the most well-known serial murderer's records. The doorbell interrupts their dispute, and they become alarmed, but it is only Lucas. He acknowledges that he feels like he is losing Chloe and has come to apologize for his outbursts. Vincent realizes Sophie intends to murder him because she wants him to remain and relax. After ejecting Lucas right away, he confronts Sophie and declares that Iranian pork is no more. While Vincent sleeps on the sofa with the dog that night, Sophie tries to watch another documentary but ends up turning off the TV because she cannot bear it. When Vincent tries to offer regular beef the following day, the huge line of customers departs upon learning that there is no more Iranian pork available. Vincent believes he does not deserve this after what he done, so he leaves when Sophie calls him a coward. The activists arrive later while Sophie is shutting the store and inquire about the florists. When Vincent gets home in the evening, he discovers the dog barking at the activist's vehicle. The activists have declared that they would treat Sophie the same way they treat animals and have tied her up inside a butcher's refrigerator. A man is ready to kill her when Vincent and his dog barge in, and the dog tackles the man who is harming its owner. After killing a lady instantaneously by throwing a knife at her head, Vincent battles the final man, who easily overwhelms him and stabs him with his own knife. As the dog bites the final campaigner in the crotch to end his life, a vengeful Sophie loosens the ropes and pushes a meat hook to kill the guy in retaliation. Sophie then takes the knife away and makes sure Vincent was not injured in a critical area. Later on, Sophie and Vincent became the subject of a documentary. They interrogate Mac and Stephanie since the cops arrested them based on their statements. They explain that they asked farmers about the so-called chip, but no one employed such technology, while continuing to make racial remarks about Ntamak. Sophie and Vincent would never have been apprehended if it were not for the pacemaker. After the trial, the judge asked the couple whether they had any regrets before giving them a life sentence. The only thing Sophie regrets is that she killed a man who had a pacemaker.